Okay, so today what I wanted to do is maybe a little demonstration on Dutch oven cooking. So I've set up here just outside the house with a couple of new little gadgets that I have picked over the last few days and actually a few months. But one of them is a lid lifter that never tried before. So it's adjustable. You can adjust the lid, and then that way it keeps your lid off of the ground when it's hot, and then you can just set it back on. So I'm going to try that out today. And I also came across this very handy little collapsible charcoal chimney. You can see, never used it before, but I'm going to try to use it today. Just a little small project. I'm going to do some chicken thighs with some pepper, onions, and tomatoes with them, and so we'll see how that goes. I'm going to get my charcoal chimney started, and I'm going to go in, prepare the other ingredients, and then I'll come out and we'll do another video as we get that started. So brought me a little newspaper that I could use. You know, they make the little starters you can put in the bottom. I still kind of like to go with the newspaper. It just kind of works. So we're going to try that. And then we'll put our charcoal in here. And of course, I'm using the good old Kingsford charcoal, regular charcoal, original. I particularly don't like using the match light. That's why I use a charcoal chimney to get it going. So we'll light this on a couple of different sides. We'll let that get going. It's a good thing about these charcoal chimneys, you can just get them started from the bottom. Once they ignite on those lower briquettes, they'll continue to build up. And I've learned as long as you have smoke, you're okay. Of course, I've got my shovel here in case I need that to put out a fire. And I've got my heat resistant gloves. I'm using my 10-inch Lodge Dutch oven, and I'll be using this this lid lifter, which also serves, you can make a grill out of it. There's a lot of different things you can use it for, but it's from Camp Made, and trying it out now for the first time, so we'll see how that works over the course of this demonstration. So it looks like our charcoal is getting started, so I'll cut off the video now and I'll go into the kitchen and get the ingredients prepared, and then we'll come back out. Okay, so now I've moved in the kitchen to get my other ingredients. I've got the chicken in the refrigerator still. I won't get it out until I go outside, but I have a sweet pepper, sweet onion, and then just some probably greenhouse tomatoes that I was able to find at the grocery store. So first thing I'm going to do is cut my pepper and onion, and I learned this really cool way of doing peppers actually at a 4-H activity that we had, so I got to give them credit. But basically I never knew how really to take care of a pepper before, but basically you cut the front and the back of it off, or the top and the bottom, and you can use this later. And then what you want to do is come down where the core is not, and make a cut all the way through the actual pepper. And then what I can do is work my knife in through there and get to the bottom where that core is, and basically just saw my way around very gently as I go around the pepper. All the way around. And so by doing that, you can basically remove the entire core and not get any seeds in your pepper. So I do have one seed, imagine that. So then what you want to do is reduce this down. And so I'm going to reduce it down here. That way it allows me to hold this flat, and in using proper knife skills, I can cut this pepper. It makes very nice pieces that are going to cook very evenly once I put them into my Dutch oven. So, take just a minute on this. And again, some of these skills are skills that I learned when I was growing up as a scout, and they've helped me all throughout my life, so that when we face these times when it's difficult to get around, whether it be a snowstorm or a hurricane or pandemic or whatever the case may be, then I'm not having to depend on running to the fast food place to get my meals. I can produce my own food at home as long as I just have the ingredients to go in it. So that's basically the end of that pepper. It's all cut up. And you didn't see this on the video, but I did wash my hands before I started this. So I just wanted to make sure that I did throw that in there, because that's one of the most important things. Not only during the pandemic, but when you're having to cook, you need to wash your hands and make sure you get all the germs off your hands before you get started. And again, I've been posting these videos to our Troop Facebook page, because these are some of the types of things that we will be doing more of and learning how to do when we come back together as a troop. So while you're at home with not a lot to do, maybe you can watch some of these videos and you can begin to practice some of this at home. Of course, make sure your parents are there with you, and hopefully you've got permission from your parents even to be watching anything that may be posted on Facebook. So very important to stay safe during a pandemic, and part of staying safe is staying away from places that can be harmful, and often the internet can be a place where you find harmful people, unfortunately. So as long as you have permission and as long as your parents are with you, I hope you get a chance to watch these videos and learn how to do some of this stuff, or at least learn about it, and then when we get back together as a group, we can work more on this. This would actually be part of the outdoor cooking trail badge, and that's one that the navigators and adventurers will work on. It also may be a trail badge, not a trail badge, but it might be something that you learn a little bit about in the Woodlands Trail through your life skills focus. So I told you we could probably use the rest of this pepper, so I've taken the cap out of it, and I'm just going to slice that up into usable sizes that I can put in their pan over here. And what I plan to do is, once I get what I'm cooking today is chicken thighs, and so once we get the chicken thighs browned on one side and then turned over in our Dutch oven, then we will just add the peppers and onions to it, and then you notice that I have these tomatoes here as well. And I'm not going to cut these up right now because I want them to be good and fresh when I add them. And so what I'm going to do is right toward the end of the cooking process, I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them on top of the on the chicken just as I'm getting ready to take it off the heat and bring it back into the house to get it prepared to actually cook. So I've got my little garden basket here, and that's what I'm going to be using to carry my ingredients out to my cooking area, which is just outside the door of my house. I found a place a little bit closer than the fire pit, so I didn't have as far to go. But I'm going to take all this stuff out there. I'll come back inside and do this while the chicken's cooking. So we are going to move on to our next step. Okay, we're back outside now, and as you can see, we're now dealing with some hot coals, and so need to put on the heat-proof gloves, just of course for safety reasons. And you can see the charcoal, it's heated all the way through, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to put some charcoals on the bottom that will heat the oven from the bottom. And I don't want to put too many on the bottom because I don't want to burn what goes in there. But I'm going to put enough on the bottom to get it preheated pretty quickly. And let's just go ahead and pour some out. I've never been one to measure real well, so I'm going to put those on the bottom. I'm going to put our Dutch oven back on top of that, and that'll begin to preheat that. And then I'm going to also put some on the top. And when you're baking, especially something of this size, it's usually best to have most of your heat on the top, more of your heat on top and less of your heat on bottom. So I'm going to pull a few of these that aren't quite under there because they're not doing us any good. Put them up on top. Put a few on the back side here. And now I've got that starting to preheat. And then what I'll do is I'll take my lid lifter and get it in place here. So when the time comes to put my chicken in there, we can take that off and put it in. So I've set the charcoal chimney aside for now. And I won't be needing it again. If I thought I might be going to take a little bit longer to cook here, it may be necessary to go ahead and start another chimney, and that way I'll have some hot coals later on. And but being here at the house, if I don't get it full cooked, I can always take it inside and finish it off. I don't want to do that, so we're going to let it just preheat here for a few minutes, and then we will put the oil and the chicken in. So take just a few minutes on this, so I'll go ahead and cut the camera off. Okay, so we've been about 10 minutes preheating. So I'm going to go ahead. It may not be completely preheated, but hopefully we'll have enough heat that we can begin to start browning our chicken on one side. So I've brought my ingredients out from the kitchen in my basket, and again, I washed my hands before coming out here to start this portion of the demonstration. So what I've done is I brought the chicken out, and I think what I'll do is use this basket to use kind of as a workspace, and go ahead and open up my chicken. And obviously, after we do this portion of the video, when I get this put in there, I will go back inside and wash my hands one more time. I've got a towel over there to lay my equipment on. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take the lid off. And I'm really liking this lid lifter. It seems to be working well. I'm going to take my chicken and I'm going to place it into, oh yeah, in here. We're preheated, all right. Into my preheated oven. And all I'm trying to do on this first part is to brown the chicken on one side. And you may see some smoke coming from the side. And what that is I decided to go ahead and start another half chimney of charcoal chimney in the charcoal chimney, so that if we do start running low on heat, we'll be able to come back and add to this. Again, I'm trying to make sure I don't lay my fork down where the chicken's been. I don't want to cross-contaminate that. I'm going to go ahead and put a little of my seasoning on here. This is just a garlic pepper mix. Looks like I may need a little bit more oil in my pan. I've got my oil over here on my camp chair. So I'm going to put a little bit more oil in. Don't want it sticking. That chicken's really cooking in there. So we'll give that just a couple minutes to brown on one side, and then we'll flip that over. I'll come back and I'll try to get a better shot so you can actually see the chicken before when I flip it over. All right, our chicken's had a little bit of time now to brown on that one side. It's been about 6 minutes. Even if it's not brown totally, that'll be fine because it'll continue to bake after I turn it over. But just so you know, I did go back in. I washed my hands. I washed the utensils, the fork and the knife that I used before when I was dealing with that raw chicken. Definitely don't want to make anybody sick by doing this, so make sure you practice good hygiene and good washing, especially after something such as chicken. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off, and hopefully you've got a good view from inside. And I'm gonna go ahead and a little brown, but not real brown, but that's okay because this is going to bake. It's going to continue to bake. Still got heat in there. Of course, every time you take the lid off, you're losing some heat. So we're going to flip this chicken over, all of it over, and you can see some of the juices cooked out of the chicken as well. And I'm probably going to add some more coals to the bottom of this just to get the heat built back up. What I want to do at this time is put a little bit more seasoning on this. And then I'm going to take and put my vegetables in there. Again, these were all cut up inside. Put all those on top. Kind of spread those around real nice. And over the next 45 minutes to an hour, as the heat builds back up in here, those will cook down. Whoops, missed a pepper. And that's going to really turn out nicely, I think. Time it's done, I'll add my fresh tomatoes on top of that. I'm going to put a little more seasoning on these veggies. And this is just a garlic and pepper and salt mixture. Then I'm going to put this back on. And from this point on, we're not going to take the lid off this. We're going to let it cook. And we're going to let it continue to build up heat there. And I'm actually going to add some more coals, fresh coals, to the bottom and to the top when it's done. So right now, everything is coming along pretty well. Okay, so we've been cooking for about 40 minutes here. And so I'm going to go ahead and take this off, take a look at it, see what we got. So we got a nice little chicken, looks good and done all the way through. We've got the peppers and onions have cooked up. We've got a lot of juice in there. Boy, what would be really nice if we could add some rice to that, but considering I'm doing a different kind of a diet right now and can't eat the carbs, we'll just have to do without that. So what I did do while this was cooking is I went ahead and cut up the tomatoes, and so I'm going to add that in on top and stir that in, and then I'm going to put the lid back on that and let those cook up just a little bit. And I say another 15 minutes, maybe 20. We're going to be ready to take this into the house and plate it up with the rest of our supper. So we'll have one more session and see how that turns out. Okay, so I'm back out here, and I've allowed this to cook for another about 20 minutes. So I'm getting ready to go ahead and remove the lid lifter so that I can get the last of the coals removed from the top. Whoop. And I don't have the tripod this time, so I'm just doing this videoing by hand. But so what I want to do is kind of clean the top of it off, and that way when I get it inside, I can go ahead and have everything cleaned up, everything off the edges. And so at this point, I know you may want to see it, so you can see there, looking really good. So we're going to cut this off and go to the kitchen, and from there we'll plate it up and we'll have supper. Okay, so we finished cooking outside, and I've brought the pot back in here. Of course, you saw me clean the top off outside, and I've brought it back in and took the lid off, and boy, it looks really good. While we were cooking that, I also cooked some beans and some cabbage inside, or my wife did. And so we're going to be able to add this chicken, peppers, onions, and tomatoes to this plate to make a really good meal. So I looked at the chicken, and it really looks good. You can see that it's really good and tender. And I really like the thighs. Those fresh tomatoes in there. So, you know, as we plate this up, I mean, you can just see that, you know, just a spoon cuts right through the chicken. So, you know, slow in a Dutch oven. And so that's what we got. Looking really good. And unfortunately, folks, that's all I'm going to show you, because you don't need to sit and watch me eat. So with that, I'm going to give you a little bit better look into the pot to see what we got. So that's inside of our Dutch oven. You can see it all really cooked up really nicely. There's nice chicken thighs in there, and boy are they tender. And then that right there, that is what's for dinner. Hope this has helped. Again, these are some skills that we're going to be learning through Trail Life, and I hope when we get back together, everybody's going to be really excited about what we're going to be able to do. Until the next time, walk worthy.